Hey guys, and welcome to another episode. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to install the JCW Aero Kit with all the add-ons, like the brake ducts and the rear diffuser. Stay tuned. A little bit ago, I picked up this 2010 Mini Cooper S. It had the JCW Aero Kit on it, and I bought this car for that exact reason. This vehicle came with that kit, and that kit goes for a couple $1,000s, plus paint if you were to buy it new. Considering I was able to buy this entire car for the same price, I think I got myself a steal. So my other Mini that I have in the garage is a lot better of condition, and it's a lot nicer of a Mini. This is a 2009 JCW, and it does not have the JCW Aero Kit on it. It came with the JCW Hypersport Kit. However, that doesn't mean that I can't take this body kit off and install the new one on the car. That is exactly what I'm doing. So this body kit that I have right here was on that car outside, and it had a little bit of damage to the front bumper. I ended up getting that fixed, and I got the front bumper repainted. It looks so much better. On another note, I also purchased the brake duct kit that goes in the bottom grille of this front bumper. So it's going to allow me to get the fresh air on the front of the car. It's going to allow it to go through the front bumper, through the little duct that's going to be found in here, and it's going to allow my brakes to stay nice and cool. The side skirt design is a little bit more aggressive too. The stock Hypersport one is literally just a side skirt that goes from the front of the car to the back of the car. There's no real design to it. The aftermarket one, or should I say the other one that I'm installing in the car, has a little duct found here on the back. It's going to allow the air that's traveling on the side of the car to go through this duct and hopefully cool the brakes that are found back here. Last but not least, the rear bumper on this car isn't exactly the most aggressive either. The aftermarket one looks a lot better, and I also installed this rear diffuser kit on the bottom side of it. It was really easy. The little clip that basically attaches to this bumper, you can remove, basically takes up this area, and you can install this factory JCW GP diffuser on the same spot on the underside of the car. Now, not only does this bumper look a heck of a lot better, but it's actually functional. So let me show you how to get started with this install. So in order to swap out the front or rear bumper, what needs to come off first are the fender flares. Now, if you go on the back side of them, you'll be able to see that there's a couple clips that are just fastening it to each one of the holes on the actual fender. So if you go inside the wheel well, pry down the fender liner, and unclip the little clips on the back side, you'll be able to remove the fender flare, and it'll allow you to unclip it from the bumper. With the fender flare removed, you'll be able to undo and remove the front bumper by removing the bolt that's found right here. It's a Torx bolt, and there's another one that's found right here. So there's going to be two of them on this side, two of them on the other side, and once you do that, you'll be able to grab the bumper and pull it off of the car. That's assuming that you've already gone ahead and removed the hardware that's going to the lights and for the intake temp sensor that's found right here. So once you have all that disconnected, the bumper can come off, and then we can swap it with our new one. So I went ahead and installed the bumper with the front portion of the brake ducts prior to installing the rear portion, which was a problem, and if you want to install it correctly, you're not exactly going to do that. The rear section needs to be fastened to the lower section of the crash bar, then followed by the front. So start off with that. Now, these ducts you see here are the same ducts that are found on the Mini Cooper GP, which has the JCW Aero Kit 2. The design of it is ever so slightly different, so you can't run the Aero 2 kit parts on the Aero 1 kit. The easiest way to tell which version of the kit you have is looking at the front bumper. The design of the Aero Kit 1 is one single piece, where the JCW Aero Kit 2 is more than two pieces. You can see that there's an actual separation on the bumper itself. The ducts themselves are different too, in addition to the subframe design. The backside of the duct on the 2 has a rectangular shape, where the duct on the 1 is more like a teardrop. Now, unfortunately, they aren't interchangeable, so since you can't get the brake duct kit in red for the Aero 1 kit, you need to buy the black ones in the kit and then get them painted should you want to get them done in red, and that's exactly what I ended up doing. Now, I'll link all these parts in the description box so that you get the proper parts for your car. I think that this red here is going to contrast the car nicely, especially against the pepper white and the black trim. We'll see those final results afterwards. Bring the front bumper over the front end of the car and align the brake duct over top of the teardrop section of the front crash bar. Using the same T20 hardware we removed earlier, fasten them down to the new bumper. Connect all the harnesses for the lights and sensors, followed by securing the lower clips of the grille into the bumper, then the 4 push clips into the upper crash bar support. Now, I've got to say, the front end looks so much more aggressive, but that doesn't conclude all the front end work. The rear portion of the brake ducts need to be mated up to the fender liners. Included in the brake duct kit are the templates for where the holes need to be trimmed. With the fender liners back on the car, it should line up with the duct where you can fasten the 2 screws. Next up comes removing the OEM side skirts. Begin by removing the plastic screw clips that are securing the side skirt to the lower portion side of the car. They look like this. After that, the interior garnish in the door sill needs to come off because it exposes hardware underneath. So with the rubber door seal lifted out of the way, grab a heat gun and slightly pry up on the garnish. With it removed, there will be 4 black clips holding the skirt to the body. Unfortunately, I haven't found a way to remove them without breaking them, so essentially, send it. I found it easiest to pull the tops of the clips off, then push the rest of the clip into the body. We'll be able to get access to those clips later. Now, we're not done breaking clips just yet. After you ensure you've removed all the lower plastic screws on the underside, you have to then give the side skirt a couple quick tugs so that it breaks the skirt clips. It's a dumb design in my opinion, as you have to replace nearly all the clips to remove the skirts, but that's just how it is. Thankfully, the plastic clips are more brittle than the skirt, so it does work. These 2 clips towards the rear of the skirt are smaller and opaque, where all the other ones are slightly larger and black. With them disconnected from the skirt but still on the body of the car, rotate them about 90 degrees and they should be able to slide out. You can then clean the entire area up as best as you would like and then swap it out for the new skirt. As a preventative measure, I'm also spraying some fluid film rust spray on the inside of the rocker. Rust is a so if you can prevent it from coming, it makes life easier. So with the new clips attached to the skirt, align the panel over top of the car and ensure each and every one of them gets properly clipped. With enough hardware purchased to swap 2 sets of skirts, I'm now installing the Hypersport Kit on my donor Mini. It's the exact same situation for the install. Ensure that everything has been properly fastened. The last part of the Aero Kit install is the rear bumper and diffuser. So out comes the damaged, non-aggressive Hypersport rear bumper. Similarly to the front bumper removal, there's going to be 4 torque screws holding the bumper in place, along with a plastic clip in each wheel well. Ensure that you disconnect both electrical connectors leading to the rear lower lights. With it off, the old bumper can be transferred to my donor Mini. As for the JCW Rear Bumper, the rear section of the diffuser gets mated to the lower portion of the bumper. If you guys don't have the diffuser on your Aero Kit bumper, you can do the swap. After that, reconnect all the wires going to the lights and then realign it over top of the rear crash bar. Using the same hardware as before, secure the bumper to the body. Following that, the support bracket and the under tray extension pieces need to be installed. Unfortunately for me, half of the hardware for the diffuser wasn't included at the time of the install, so I ended up using M6 bolts that I had here at home. The diffuser essentially completes the underside of the car to be completely flat bottom. The exhaust hangers need to be unbolted so we can slide the support bracket between it and the body. We'll be reusing the same hardware as it's more than long enough to get this done, even with the Ultra Racing chassis bracing piece that's found underneath it. The bracket gives us 3 locations where the M6 bolts will secure the extensions in place. Bring the under tray extensions under the appropriate side and start off by fastening the bolts by the diffuser end first. There's going to be 4 of them. You can then fasten the M6 bolts into the brackets. There's going to be a couple more clips and screws that are included inside the hardware kit for this piece. They clip right over here and also at the rear portion of the diffuser. When my hardware comes in, I'll be sure to install them, but you guys get the idea. So from the back side of the car, the flat bottom leads to the under tray extensions, which then leads to the diffuser at the rear bumper. With the car on the ground, don't forget to torque the wheels if you remove the fender liners to make the install easier. Reinstalling the stock fender flares is as easy as just clipping them back into the fenders, where this wide body setup is a little bit more complicated and it requires you to use more M6 bolts, washers, and nuts to fasten them to the fenders. But with all that said and done, I think this transformation looks absolutely unreal. Off camera, I also removed the JCW badge on the trunk because I think now this looks completely symmetrical. Before I bring the Mini out, I want to show you how this donor Mini has done its job for not only myself, but for some others. You'll notice that it might look a little bit different. Other than swapping out the Aero Kit, the rear wing was swapped out for a standard Cooper trunk garnish, the front Hypersport bumper was swapped out for a standard Cooper S1, the grille was swapped out for a Cooper grille, and the passenger door and fender were swapped out for the same thing, but one that has a small dent on the fender and door. Now all these items were traded plus cash, making this purchase for my Mini even more profitable. As for my JCW, the Aero Kit on it with the optional diffuser and brake ducts looks absolutely killer, especially with the ducts done in red. I think it contrasts the car really nice and it suits the rest of the red that's going on with the color scheme. The fender flares that I have are from a company called Keep It Aesthetic, and honestly, they're not the greatest. The customer service was terrible, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend them because the finish and the fitment isn't as ideal as I would want. So because the panels don't necessarily line up and they aren't perfect, I wouldn't ideally recommend it. But at the same time, when you go with any kind of aftermarket component like a body part, you're essentially expecting that kind of fitment. As for my wheel and tire setup, these are 17 by 8.5 Apex Arc 8 wheels with two 35/40 R17 Nankang AR1 semi-slicks. These things have a reinforced sidewall, they're super sticky, and these things just fit inside the wheel arch, especially when I'm turning. Now, I specifically went with this dimension because otherwise, if I were to go with something larger, the front of the tire would come in contact with the bumper, and the back side of the tire would come in contact with the fender liner. So with this spec wheel and tire setup, I can run a square setup for both the front and back of the car. I still have a couple things to do on the Mini, but I mean, for the meantime, it's drivable and I can get it wherever I want. I need to get an alignment for it. I need to change over something else that I have on the interior of the car, and I have a couple other mods coming, but as of now, she runs and she does the trick. If you guys want to find any of the parts that you guys found in this video, whether it be the body kit, whether it be the brake duct kit, or even the diffuser, you guys can find that info in the description box. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.